What's up guys, I'm Michael. Welcome to this week's Behind Box Office. Today, we talk about the cutthroat competition in the arena of animation and how it might shape the future landscape concerning Pixar, Illumination, and other players. Last weekend, the ladies from Illumination, Minion, the Rise of Gru, descended to the box office throne, collecting nearly $150 million over the long July 4th weekend. Easily one of the top 5 openings of the year. That sharply contrasts with Pixar's Lightyear 2 weeks ago when the Toy Story spin-off only grossed a disappointing $50 million in North America, well short of its pre-release projection of $70 million. What's worse, a 75% audience score didn't help Lightyear's legs either, nosediving in its second and third weekend. At this stage, Minion's The Rise of Gru is well poised to become the highest grossing animation in the post-pandemic era, surpassing Scene 2 at $163 million, also from Illuminations. On the other hand, Lightyear, recently crossing the century mark, might even struggle to match Minion's first 4-day gross when it's all said and done. As Pixar still suffers from a 2-year hiatus from the big screen, Illumination is now positioned to be number 1 on the domestic animation chart for 2 years in a row, a first for the studio since its launch in 2010. That's a big outcome for the long-reigning Pixar. Since Toy Story debuted in 1995 and revolutionized the whole industry, Pixar has been undeniably the most dominant force. According to the numbers, between 1995 and 2021, Pixar has claimed the domestic top spot of animation for 14 times in the past 25 years, followed by DreamWorks with 4, Walt Disney Animation with 2, and Illumination with 2. As you can see, Pixar ruled from 2008 to 2012 non-stop, with numerous Best Feature Animation trophies along the way. Even Walt Disney Animation and Illumination both broke out in 2013 with Frozen and Despicable Me 2, respectively, and rose to prominence. Pixar still held on to number 1 spot for 4 times in the following 8 years, effectively fending off its 2 powerful challenges. It's no easy task to maintain such a high degree of competitiveness for decades. Just look at DreamWorks, once a rapidly growing newcomer that topped the domestic animation chart for 4 times between 2001 and 2007. DreamWorks has gone through a series of distributor changes and a string of box office flops, leading to its sale to Universal and decline to a secondary animation label. Even more sad is Blue Sky Studios, the creator of Ice Age and Rio franchises. After its parent company, 20th Century Fox, was devoured by Disney in 2019, Blue Sky got sandwiches between Pixar and Walt Disney Animation, lost its unique position, and ultimately became dissolved in 2021. What a sorrow! In spite of fierce competition from Walt Disney Animation and Illumination, Pixar still remains the top notch in the animation race. Then the pandemic came, hammering Pixar the most. First up is Onwards. After nearly 2 weeks of release, theaters around the world were shut in mid-March 2020, leaving Onwards nowhere to go but Disney Plus well ahead of schedule. Although its theatrical showing was cut in short, Onwards unexpectedly became the luckiest Pixar movie in the next 2 years. In December 2020, amid the ongoing pandemic and the choppy theater reopening, Soul was sent to streaming directly in North America, being the first Pixar movie to skip the domestic cinemas entirely. Though difficult, this decision by Disney was seen acceptable in general. However, Disney kept a harsh stance on Pixar's return to cinemas, hurting its long-view presence. In June 2021, Luca was once again put on Disney Plus without a domestic release. Despite that, Raya and the Last Dragon from Walt Disney Animation was granted a day-and-date release 3 months ago. Sure, it could be argued whether Raya, running out at $54.7 million, failed to meet Disney's expectation, but to treat Raya and Luca differently just months apart shows an apparent inconsistency in Disney's strategy. But Pixar's misery didn't end at Luca. In 2022, we finally see how Disney tried its best to build on its streaming empire at the expense of Pixar. In January, Disney announced that Turning Red was pulled out of theatrical release again and would be sent to streaming on March 11th. That's arguably one of the worst decisions made by Disney. Business-wise, the domestic theatrical market has underwent an impressive recovery, as the Batman sold with a massive $134 million just a week earlier. Even animation has enjoyed a timely boost, with Encanto and Sin 2 both opening above $20 million in late 2021. By the way, these two animations were given an exclusive theatrical window for at least 30 days. But just entering 2022, Disney immediately decided to deprive Pixar's chance of running its cinemas for a third time. Excuse me? Some might say this was to boost the viewership on Disney Plus. Well, let's check some numbers. According to Samba TV, Turning Red attracted 2.5 million US households in its first weekend, only slightly better than Encanto's 2 million, despite the latter was after a full month release in theaters. In fact, Soul attracted a similar 2.4 million back in Christmas 2020, indicating that the viewership of animation on Disney Plus is relatively stable regardless of their theatrical arrangements. If so, why not give Turning Red a theatrical release just like Encanto? Also worth noting is that stripping a theatrical release might actually hurt the viewership of an animation. This is the latest chart from Nielsen, showing that Encanto still ranked ahead of Turning Red in May, despite being released 3 months ahead. The catchy songs from Encanto, especially the widely popular We Don't Talk About Bruno, are certainly helping its longevity. But a head start on the big screen is also a strong catalyst to build its brand awareness and word of mouth, which sadly was taken away from Turning Red. What makes things worse is the fact that not everyone has access to Disney Plus, limiting the exposure of Pixar movies to a wider audience. There are still many countries in the world where Disney Plus is yet to launch, and the only way for the audience there to watch a Disney animation is to go to theaters. The declining worldwide box office of Soul, Luca, and Turning Red is painful to look at. Imagine how many existing and potential Pixar fans were lost in the last 2 years. Finally, let's get back to our topic today. Sure, Lightyear's underperformance is largely due to its divisive reviews concerning the controversy of same-sex kiss. But a 2-year hiatus of Pixar movies from the big screen is also playing a negative role here. In contrast, Universal never did the same to Illumination, with Sin 2 and Minions The Rise of Gru both enjoying success at the box office. In 2022, we might witness the first time that Pixar missed the top spot for 2 consecutive years when they released at least a movie in, and both winners might likely go to Illumination, also first in history. Isn't there a lesson for Disney to learn from this humiliating defeat? Hopefully they will. Okay, this is today's Behind Box Office. If you have any thought or any topic that you're interested in, feel free to write in the comments. And if you like this video, please share and subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.